green and blue, and it will gain access to, it's like Pagelhorn or something, street. Um, so it looks like they're proposing 17 lots. But again, this really shouldn't have any bearing on the land use plan amendment approval. Next. So just a historical review. These are all the land use plan amendments that you've seen since 2011. So most recently, Christy Gross was here, I think at your last meeting, to give a presentation on the Bolter property. So that one was done, and now we're moving on to this one. There's a lot of locational criteria that we look at with suburban development. On the right is just for reference for the public, but in short, it meets all of our locational criteria for suburban development based on our land use plan. So I will go through our findings though really quick. So if you recall with the Millie Meadows Second, which was approved in 2020, staff had identified a pit that the DNR had said existed, which no longer existed, so that actually changed our clues score for the property. Have conditions changed? Yes, in 2017, Millie Meadows First was approved. In 2020, the second phase was approved, all of which lots are being sold and built on as we speak. Have policies changed? In 2016, Rochester Township adopted their own individual land use plan, and they cited this land as suburban development. So really this would be to get the county in on with whatever the township is doing. So as always, there's not really an unanticipated shortage of suburban development. And then the clue scores for this property, with using today's data and with the Millie Meadows being approved first and second, this property has scores that are similar to Millie Meadows first and second when they were approved. So if you want to go to the next slide, Clara. So these, oh, sorry.
The new clues model that we updated, right?
Yeah, so
apply that to this.
yeah, so we haven't updated the clues model entirely. We just used the same original clues model from 2011, but updated the data. So on this slide, you'll see original in 2011. So that was before Millie Meadows 1 and 2 were approved. And then on the right is revised, showing better scores. So the pink is ideal, green is more ideal for resource protection. And then before you right now is the application process, just letting you know that we're on the very first step to getting this to be developed into a plat. So quite a few steps before the last step, which is step 6, where you'll see the final plat and you'll approve it. The Planning Commission recommends that you approve this land use plan amendment for 41.9 acres of the total 66 acres, changing it from resource protection to resource protection potential suburban on the land use plan amendment or land use plan map, based on staff's findings of fact. One more, I think. And then as the County Board of Commissioners, you're tasked with holding a public hearing and then approving, denying, or continuing the request. With that, I'll stand for any questions you may have.
Great.
Did the planning department had any conditions for approval?
No, yeah, no conditions.
Sheila?
I'm wondering, it's a 66-acre park, so 24 acres are being retained. Help me understand that nomenclature. That means that they're simply not proposing a development at this time, but they may propose development at some future date?
Yeah, they could at a future date, say if the 71.5 acre feedlot or 31.5 animal unit feedlot went away. Right now, it just looks like they're going to carve around that, so they're not putting houses in that feedlot buffer. As of now, I think the applicant, which they can tell you more during the public hearing, but I think they want to retain that as farm use for now, so those 24 acres.
So once we have changed the designation, and if the feedlots issue is resolved, then it would be
they would have to come back and
for suburban development.
No, they'd have to come back for another land use plan amendment.
Right, for another land use change.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So 24 acres are being retained in resource protection.
Yep.
That's what I'm not understanding.
Oh, yep, sorry.
Okay, and 40 acres are being changed into potential suburban development.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know if retained meant land use designation or ownership or what that meant, so thank you.
No, you're good.
Okay. All right, would the applicant or the developer like to speak?
I believe you have to open the public hearing first. But
Yeah,
Well, I think we already did.
we already did. Oh, at the beginning.
now you can formally.
So I guess now we'll have a motion to open the public hearing.
moved.
Okay,
Second.
all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, now, would anyone like to speak for or against this? Come on up, tell us your name and where you live.
My name's Dave Kent. We live in the property adjacent to this development. My question would be is on that 24 acres. So if it's going to be zoned out for residential use, um, the map shows it in its entirety. So in the future, would that remaining 24 acres be eligible for, say, CRP or anything in that, or would you not be able to be qualified because it'd be rezoned in that residential application? Because that'd be my question.
Do you have the answer to that?
To the best of my ability, it's gonna be
You need to be at the mic.
Need to hit the mic.
yeah. So it should still be zoned egg. As far as we don't administer CRP. I think that'd be more Skip's wheelhouse. But yeah, if it's the only requirement is egg, then yeah, it should be.
So it's like whatever it is right now, it will remain that way, those 24 acres that aren't being okay.
Right. I think that was my only question.
Okay, thank you.
So I think for your concern in the future, if the feedlot went away or changed number of units and the boundary changed, then it's potentially the developer, the owner could come back and request that to be a zoning change from resource protection to suburban development. So that in the future, but as of now, that 24 acres is carved out as ag resource protection.
Mr. Chair, maybe it would help the citizen and me to understand what the requirements are around feedlot. Would you mind restating those? Or why is it that this 24 acres, because of a feedlot, cannot be reclassified at this time?
Yeah, well, it can. We just are not really in the business of putting homes within that quarter-mile buffer, just because, smell,
Right.
pollution, anything like that.
So it's not an ordinance.
It is in the Ag District,
Yeah.
in the R1, not so much, but we just kind of prefer not to have homes in there.
It's
so.
part of our land use plan, Sheila.
So what I'm trying to understand is, part of our land use plan, what are the ordinances around feedlot and that keeps it in agricultural rather than being potential suburban?
That would be the Clues model, I would say.
That would be what?
The Clues model,
The
they would
Clues
consider
model.
them
I'm asking you
as-
to explain it.
Yeah, so they would be considered incompatible land uses, suburban development and this type of ag.
So with that in mind, the owner of this property has only asked for a portion of it to be reclassified.
Correct.
But for this gentleman to understand, at the point that that feedlot goes away, then there's no prohibition for the owner to come back and ask for reclassification for suburban development. Okay.
Correct. Well, in theory, the owner could come back right now and ask for those 24, but it would probably be scored very low because of the.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the
incompatibility.
feedlot.
But we're not likely to give it, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Okay.
Correct.
And that's because of our land use plan. Okay. I just think it's an opportunity for you and I to get more understanding. So, thanks.
That's good.
We're always learning. All right, would anybody else like to speak? Would anybody else like to speak?
My name is Jason Cappers. I'm with G Cubed Engineering. We'll be the design engineers for this property from Lane Meadows Third. And I just want to confirm that yes, we will only be, maybe you can pull it up in the slides, but in Shola Development, the only shaded red will be 17 lots, and that's why we're leaving out the 24.44 acres. That is mostly because of the feedlot, and you can't really see it on that map there, but the dividing line right there is a drainage channel. So that's kind of the separator between the Millie Meadows Third Estates development and what the owner is looking to retain and combine with their farmstead there. And then future phases of this development, we're planning on going to the south. So that'd be towards the right-hand side of your page. So that would be continued Millie Meadows Estates Fourth, and then we'd work our way south and then east. That is mostly just to stay out of that feedlot buffer. So,
Okay. great.
Thank
It
you.
clarifies things.
Anybody else like to speak for or against this? Sure, we'll give you another shot.
So with the feedlot, the way it's laid out, it looks like it's almost in a circle. So you're going in a
Yep.
circle.
Mhm.
Wouldn't that be from the
The
property
feedlot
line or
picture.
where that cattle could actually go up to that fence line?
Could we have the slide back with that shows the feedlot zone? I think it's one before this one.
I guess that would be my question.
Keep one more.
One more.
You're saying the circle emanates from where that,
Thank you.
So you're just going from the center. But if the cattle can go all the way up to the fence line, wouldn't that
So-
be considered a feedlot?
from my other job, the definition of feedlot is a property that where natural vegetation can't be maintained because of the density of the animal units. So as long as the animal units aren't so dense that the grass can't grow up, as long as that's not the case, then in my other career, I don't have to maintain a separation distance from it.
Okay.
So I wonder if that's the case then on this too. So they do
I
the
was
quarter
just
mile
curious.
circle from that area where the density is high.
Okay.
The
I
circle
assume
is
it's
about
from the,
odor, though, I
from the
believe.
property boundaries, I assume.
Well, that's what he's
No.
saying. He's saying it's not from the property boundaries because if you can see the property boundaries goes to the west about,
Right,
I don't know, probably 400 or 500 feet further to the west.
all right, so at some point clarification, but that circle is the boundary upon which the buffer exists for the
Seems
feedlot.
like yes. Yep.
So it can't
That must be why though.
further east, south, et cetera.
Oh,
So
okay.
just to clarify, that's a quarter-mile buffer from a feedlot. Is that correct, Mr. Mahler?
Yes.
As far as I know, we just put a point on, and it's a quarter-mile buffer from the center of the operation, so.
I just thought, again, would be nice to be clear about what that circle represents.
Yeah, and I think Gene, is that correct? Might have something else to say.
Morning, Board. Gene Peters, 1320 Wicklow Lane, Southwest Rochester. The feedlot boundary that the county used is slightly different than what TCPA used. The boundary the TCPA used was more towards the fence line. And it actually just encroaches into that shaded area just a little bit. So I'm not sure which is going to be the official feedlot boundary, but we did take that into account.
So you would,
So we've used a different boundary which comes a little farther west.
Mhm.
okay.
But I'm not the arbiter of feedlot boundaries.
Yeah,
That's something we all probably need to learn about.
all right.
Any other questions?
Any questions for Gene?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, would anybody else like to speak for or against this? Anybody else like to speak for or against this? Would anybody else like to speak for or against this? I'll entertain a motion to close the public
Move to
hearing.
close.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Okay, discussion or motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Thank you. All right, next up, consent agenda. Proclaim April Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Proclaim April 4th through 10th National Public Health Week. Proclaim April Child Abuse Prevention Month. Approve the March 15th County Board minutes. Approve the Snowmobile Trail Grant. Approve purchase of service agreements with Family Service Rochester. Award contract for County Project C22-13 CASA 13. And establish absentee ballot board and uniformed and oversees absentee voting act ballot board.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, passes. Regular agenda. As of now, I see nothing on the discussion decision items. So we'll move to board and committee reports. Matt, you want to start?
Well, obviously, Mark, Greg, and me were at the Township Association a couple weeks ago. Big crowd.
Yeah, it was a
There.
crowd.
Talked about some issues, but and our staff was there and explained about the new voting and upcoming election. Very nice. Other than that, that's all I got, Mark.
Okay, thank you. Sheila?
Editorial comment. You probably don't know that this is National Public Health Week, but, I mean, it wasn't a resolution, but you probably didn't pay close attention. But it's kind of wonderful that we've announced Denise Daniels' appointment this during National Public Health Week.
Right, perfect timing.
I've got a couple of things to call out to you. One is at government forums yesterday, the city reported that so far in the advancing of their local option sales tax, the House is not supporting the housing component of their request, and they're working hard to make sure that all of the elements that they're proposing will be advanced. They also have created a design team process, a co-design team process for their community center and recreational funding of 65 million. So we may want to look at that because I think there've been some questions raised about if they're going to do a community center, how is that compatible with works that we have underway at Graham Park? And we want to make sure that we plan so things are compatible. I don't know if you're aware that the Housing Coalition has contracted with Jo Marie Morris as an interim director for the next 6 months as they look to the future of that. That's really relevant for us because of our ARPA funds that we've put into the coalition. And then related to that is, I don't think it's that well known that our housing department is sponsoring a housing summit next Tuesday, April 12th. This is really focused on the GAIN program that the board has funded with ARP funds as well, and looking to work with get a lot of community input and more community awareness of those funds and how we can work with partners in small cities and finance institutions throughout our county. So you may want to be aware of that and attend. The other thing I wanted to call out is that the Southern Minnesota Initiative Foundation, in partnership with CETA, with University of Minnesota Extension, with Southeast Minnesota Together, is starting a comprehensive economic development strategy process. This won't have as very much impact on Olmsted County because we are in a metropolitan services area, but we are one of the 2 places in the state, as you know, that doesn't have a regional development commission. And this CEDS, or Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy, is done on a regional basis. And on the basis of having a formal CEDS in place, communities can qualify for rural development funds. So it becomes a way that communities and counties in our region can access federal funding. Without it, it is much harder to qualify for those federal funds. So that process is beginning, and there's going to be there's several steps. So the first step is doing a SWOT analysis of the economic strengths and opportunities and threats in our region. You will probably be getting an invitation to attend one of 3 sessions that'll be held on May 15th, I think it's 16th, 18th, and 19th. Those will be held here in Rochester, so you may want to take note of that as well because it will have some broader regional impact once it's completed. Goes from there to strategy development to have a document ready by fall that then meets the federal qualifications. And that's my report.
Thank you. Greg?
The legislative committee, Commissioner Cascade and Commissioner Brown, took the opportunity, I think Commissioner Brown spoke to the legislature about some of our top priorities, and we did meet with several senators, including Senator Senjum and Senator Nelson, about our priorities of the Highway 14 and 44 interchange proposal, the materials recovery facility in Graham Park. And generally, we received a very positive approach from the senators, but of course we'll have to wait and see how the legislature actually appropriates money. And then we also met with Senator Tina Smith when she was in town about those same projects and using federal funds to help us with the funding of those projects. And Senator Smith, I think, was very accommodating and enjoys green energy, and she was very impressed by the projects that we've had going. So we're hopeful that possibly we'll receive some federal funds as well. but all of that remains to be seen. So, thank you very
He
much.
also toured the crisis
Yes,
unit.
yeah, she was impressed.
Stephanie?
No report.
Really no report. Had Ready Board, you know, it was, went for a while, so I was pleased to see you hadn't impeached me for missing a couple of meetings.
First discussion.
So, yeah, behind closed doors. I appreciate that. So nothing worthy of reporting.
Okay. I'm going to piggyback on what Matt said at the township officer meetings. State Senator Senjum was there and brought up that the Minnesota DNR is considering making the whole state a rifle zone for deer hunting, and the overwhelming opinion of the township officers in attendance was against that due to safety reasons. You know, currently, for as long as I can remember, we've been shotgun slugs zones in southeast Minnesota due to density in the woods. We don't need to shoot 400 or 500 yards to shoot a deer down here. We got plenty of deer. So,
Mr. Chair, an update to that is the sheriff is also taking a position that he's very concerned about it, and Senator Senjum currently is pursuing having an exemption from the statewide regulation for Olmsted and Dodge County. Dodge County is also concerned. So that's kind of, we'll see where that goes. It has not been seen. Senator Senjum is kind of voicing the alarm and feels kind of a little alone in the wilderness on that one. So.
Right.
If he fails and this gets through, maybe the county board's going to have to look at doing something on their own.
I think we will have the authority to do that,
Yep.
depending on what happens, but there doesn't appear to be much of a groundswell that Senator Senjum's been able to activate.
Right.
You know, or,
Right.
you know, he's pushing more so to just engage with more people, more cities, more jurisdictions on this, as opposed to just having it appear in a bill and poof,
Yeah,
it's
really.
law.
Yeah, I think that's fair criticism because we didn't hear about this until Senjum told us about it.
Right.
You know, we'd go to a
Yeah.
vote and nobody in the affected area would even know about it until the law has changed. So that's undercover. All right, I got a short quote from publicist Albert Hubbard. To escape criticism, do nothing, say nothing, be nothing. All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Is that us you're talking about? Jeez.
All in favor of adjourning? Aye.